Light the beam. It's time for Nerdy for 30 podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer, aka the Critic's Choice. With me, as always, the People's Champ, Tim Cack.
If you feel it, chase it, baby.
If you feel it, chase it. And today, we're back with another round of Heaven and Heck. Just the two of us, just putting it all out there, hanging out, talking about what's been going on with each of us recently. You know, maybe we'll get some advice later on in the pod. Tim, what do you got going on?
What do I've got going on? Not a lot, Kevin. I spent a lot of time today scrolling on Zillow. It's one of my favorite pastimes. I
don't know why you do that to yourself.
I know it's terrible. As my therapist says, it's helpful until it's unhelpful, and it's gotten unhelpful. Because I'm always like, you know, what if I win the lottery? Oh, I could live in a mansion. I could live in the thing. But then my dreams have just gotten more and more. It started with mansions. It started with oh, if I had 50 grand a month, and it's gone down to $6 grand a month.
Yeah.
and just the problems are becoming, I'm starting to stress out about some of these things. Like I was looking and Gowanus today. I was like, oh, here's a nice place. $6 grand. I could live near Gowanus. And then I saw something on Google Maps. Somebody commented don't go here. There's cancerous things from the Gowanus Canal that could invade this building, and they don't have a plan to stop it. And I'm just like, what? My future dream apartment that I'm settling for, because it's only $6 grand, which I don't have to pay for an apartment in real life, is going to give me cancer.
Yeah.
It's going to give me cancer. And I was just Googling flood levels around the Gowanus Canal, because I'm going down the rabbit hole of how toxic the Gowanus Canal is. It's awful. It's one of the worst bodies of water in the United States, and they're actively trying to clean it up, quote unquote, but it's still one of the worst bodies of water in the United States. And there are people online. I was on Reddit. They're like, how close can you live to the Gowanus Canal? And they're like, just make sure you're outside the flood zone. The flood zone? What the F's the flood zone? And I find a map. There's a New York map of flood warnings, and it's color coordinated, and there's a whole area where they're like, if the Gowanus Canal floods, this is where the water's going to go. And I'm like, oh my god, my mildly settled dream apartment is right in the flood zone of the Gowanus Canal. I guess this dream is, and then so now I'm worried about this thing that's not even going to happen, but I'm stressed out. I'm stressed out that I'm in the cancerous flood zone of the Gowanus Canal in my much more grounded, realistic-ish, but not in reach dreams.
Damn, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I mean, I think I mentioned on a previous Scruples episode that I have actually been a part of one of those Gowanus floods. And
really,
I jokingly, but also kind of not jokingly, blame most of the health things that I've had go on in the 10 years since on being near that. I was ankle deep, baby.
What? Why?
Yeah, gross shit. Well, I was on my way to a show at the Bell House, and it was driving rain, one of the worst rainstorms that I have been a part of. And I stupidly was like, well, I guess I'm still going to walk from the subway station over there, and was walking through in vans. And, I was 22 at the time. So it wasn't until I was already fully in the middle of standing water in this street leading up to the Bell House that I was like, oh, this is deep enough that if this picked up anymore, I could probably be swept off my feet here. This is if a big current came through, and then also if lightning struck anywhere near here, I'm very much in danger. But I went in, and it was the show was okay. It would have been better if it wasn't very air conditioned and if my feet weren't completely soaked. Yeah, man. So gross stuff. It's a gross canal.
Wet socks ruin the night, man. Wet socks.
That'll do it.
Really ruin things. I love the rain, but as soon as you're walking in the rain and it gets to the socks, it's game over. Let's just go home. Let's wrap this up. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
My socks are soaked. Why are we going to dinner right now? We should be at home recovering where it's safe.
Oh, God. They always say socks are the number one thing. I think about the thing that your dad says all the time, where it's put money on anything that goes between you and the floor. And I feel I know socks were always the number one thing that people brought up in Boy Scouts. You got to keep your socks fresh. You got to have warm, dry feet. Otherwise, everything is going to go to hell. And I really don't think we, as a community in general, but also as New Yorkers, are doing enough about wet socks in the summertime? Because in the rest of the year, people have whatever rain boot option works for them. I just got a pair of Blundstones. I like those. But I don't know what the fuck to do in the summertime. I don't have any like rainproof shoes.
Yeah, I think they exist. I don't have them. I could wear like snorkeling gear, I guess. Just wear fins and just walk backwards everywhere.
It's the only safe way.
Things are okay. It's the only way to do it. Maybe a spare thing of socks in the backpack, I guess. I mean, that's a weird transformation too. I feel like when I'm out and about during the winter, you get the jacket, which is like the male purse is just all the pockets that come in jackets, and it's glorious. Everything. I have my Kindle on there. I'm just always strapped with that Kindle. Got my migraine medicine on deck. Just always locked and loaded with a portable charger. You know, I got the goods. I got the works. And then you have to put the coat away for the summer. And it's like, what do I do with this stuff? Fanny pack, backpack, and I'm a backpack person. This is crazy.
Oh, but in the summer, it's just making your entire back soaking wet from sweat.
Oh, life is so hard.
Oh, God, it is.
Sometimes it's not fair for no reason at all, to quote my favorite Titans
Denzel
line.
Washington's wife from Remember the Titans.
Denzel Washington's wife in the cult classic movie Remember the Titans. Sometimes life's just hard for no reason at all.
God damn, Tim. You know what? That made me think of something, too, when you were finding yourself with some problems in your fantasy apartment. We visited, this probably 3 years ago, we visited some friends of ours down in Louisville, and you know, it was a real nice time seeing them. And Louisville is seemingly a real chill place. It's a little sleepy, but in a way that I could see being really refreshing for a certain amount of time. And so I looked up just for the hell of it. Sometimes I'll see if what we pay for an apartment out here could get me a penthouse anywhere, and it still hasn't happened, because the rent's going up everywhere. But like, I was like, I wonder if we could do a penthouse in Louisville for what we're paying for a normal apartment out here in New York. And I found an apartment building that did look really nice and would, like, you know, satiate these dreams I have of living in like this like beautiful converted like warehouse apartment building. I'm just trying to get as close to New Girl as I can. Exposed brick, big wide open windows and stuff. And I'm browsing through the pictures and I'm like, this is great. This has legs. And then I come upon a review of the apartment building that says that the entire apartment building is infested with black widows, because when they converted the warehouse into apartments, the warehouse had black widows, but they used the same HVAC system, I guess, but without clearing the black widows out of the HVAC system. So the widows live in the vents, and then they use the vents to travel between all the different apartments. So you can't get rid of them. You need air. But if you want to have air, you're exposing yourself to black widows coming out of these vents.
It's also like a deadly spider, right?
Yeah.
I know it's not the most dangerous, but growing up I thought Black Widow was 100% the most dangerous spider.
It's medically significant. There's no question about that. I think they tend to be really docile. And they really but your biggest risk with the Black Widow is like if you accidentally put your foot in a shoe that has one in it. But you don't want to be checking your shoes at your house, man. Like that would absolutely suck. I think a brown recluse, I've known a couple people to get messed up by a brown recluse bite. Those things are a lot more common too, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I mean, they're saying it's one of the most dangerous in North America.
Yeah.
Number 2 on this list from A to Z animals.
Oh. Just animals in general? What's number 1 on there? Rattlesnake?
Oh, no, it's just spiders. But we should do, most dangerous animals in North America. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, it's got to be snakes, right?
Got to be a snake. Got to be some kind of fucked up snake.
I just feel like there's snakes are smaller, right? Then because I want it to be a grizzly bear.
There's no way.
But just sheer the volume of work. Like there's less grizzlies than there are snakes. You got to assume there's more space for snakes.
Yeah. And you'll see videos sometimes where like somebody comes down under a house and shines their flashlight and it's just a pit of snakes, like just Indiana Jones down there.
Yeah. Oh, they have pits of snakes. They could never make a movie with a pit of bears.
No.
You know how much that would cost? It would cost millions. Millions of dollars on these bears, on the bear pit.
You could never wrangle. and the risk would be too high. It'd be like having too much of the presidential cabinet in the same place at a time. There's no secession order if you get all the North American bears in one pit. The wrong thing happens. The house comes down. You lost all your bears. They're extinct now.
You can't have the president and the vice president in the same room together. You know, I went to the Bronx Zoo. They have grizzly bears. They only have 2 grizzly bears.
That's smart.
That's the same number of like white leopards they have. Like the elusive creature that's like endangered and dying. And then they also just have 2 chill grizzly bears who are fine and not endangered and just having a good time.
That feels more like it's a situation where, like, if you added a 3rd bear, suddenly they would start to get ideas.
Right. 3 bears is a crowd.
Yeah. One bear's getting left out.
The last thing you want is a 3 bears. I've heard, I forget who said this, but I've heard that like 3 people is the ideal like dinner conversation because someone's always picking it up and no one's left out. Right. But in a 4 person, you had that 4th person, and then it's possible for somebody to, for it to become a 3-way conversation and for someone to feel left out. You've got to do a lot more one-on-one in a 4-way convo, whereas 3, it's like flowing, So maybe, I guess what I'm saying is I kind of want to see what happens when we get that 4th bear in there.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's the key. 3rd bear, go great. And I did pick up on your subtext, and Lauren and I will start inviting you to dinner again.
Yes, and I will not invite my girlfriend.
Nope. Double dates don't work.
No. It was more fun without her. The conversation was flowing. Now she's there, being all cute.
Shout out,
okay,
Lauren.
this seems like a weak list. Is A to Z animals. You know why I know this is a weak list? Number 1, Kevin, deer. The deer is one of the deadliest animals in Africa.
Just
every year.
Crashes?
Usually because of them jumping in front of cars.
100 that's
every year, 120 to
shit.
200 people are killed by deer. Yeah, they're suicide. They are domestic terrorists. They are religious zealots who are willing to die for the cause. Number 2,
let's make a movie that's
hornets,
just called Headlights.
Bees and wasps.
Oh, allergic reactions. Man, that sucks. I don't want practical kills. I want exotic kills.
Yeah, this sucks. I also want like a specific wasp. I want like Gary the wasp. Like that guy. Brown wasp lives in this tree. This wasp has the most kills of anyone.
He's got like 20 skulls like painted on his thorax.
It seems like a lot of these guys are one and done. Like a bee, it stings you, right? The stinger stays, the bee dies, right? Wasps keep the stinger. Hornets, I guess they play basketball, or they did at one point.
Yeah, Michael Jordan owns the team now.
Yeah. And what's the most number of people a bee has killed? Or maybe not a bee, a wasp. Which wasp has the most kills? Would be like 2 kills of people be like, there's no way, right? What are the odds? There's so many wasps. They're all stinging.
Do you think
you would have to like have somebody fatally murdered by a wasp nest and then for somebody else to go up and kick that wasp nest?
Are you open to this being a Final Destination type thing where the wasp stings somebody who's like driving and then they, crash into a gas station and the gas station explodes and it sends like the price sign through a nearby apartment window? And
Kevin, I am 100% open to this Final Destination thing. I was just thinking, like, what if we made a horror movie and like Ant-Man is like the bad guy? And it's like, what if like Wasp, like a tiny thing was flying around and just like stabbing you in the eye at like crucial moments, or like just really hurting you? Like, because like horror is always based around like ghosts and stuff and things you can't see because they're invisible and tangible. What if we can't see them because they're so small?
I mean, I think that is the sales pitch on like how Ant-Man is able to fight people, because they're like shooting every Ant-Man movie. He's fighting people and they're trying to shoot him. And it's like, what are you doing? I guess maybe it's like if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail situation. Like he's holding the gun. And so if something's hitting him, he's just going to start firing.
He's jumping around like a bullet. He's going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. That'd be cool. I was thinking it'd be fun to do a movie called like Headlights, and it's all about like a deer cult that's trying to take people down next to a highway.
A deer cult. So what if, okay, here's my pitch for this, right?
Hit me.
It's a deer cult and they recruit people to the cult, right? So it's a guy,
the deer dude.
They have cult members dress up as deer and throw themselves in front of cars. And then they hit the car and then they get the body out of there as quickly as possible. But then they find like deer enough to make it, you think it's a deer. But then this like cult finds the people on the side of the road and like brings them in and brainwashes them and recruits them. And then they get dressed up as a deer to be thrown in front of traffic to do this again.
Dude, that's really cool. You know, you have your gateway into the story is there's like a taxidermist who's called in because the piece they find is kind of strange. And then he's able to piece together like this deer that the car hit has been dead for, this piece of skin from this deer has been dead for 20 years. And then they're able to track it down. I feel like the cult would be like environmentalists and they're like anti-car culture and they're upset that we're like ruining this like beautiful forest.
Or it could be just like a bunch of like sociopaths in the woods just messing with people and they just keep getting human bodies and throwing them out there. And then one guy hits it and like, what if they wrap someone in a deer skin and throw them in front of the car and then the car kind of swerves around it and heads out of town and it's still got the deer skin attached. And then it's like, okay, what deer is missing its skin right now? We got to go investigate this. And then you find like a Leatherface situation, you know, like Hicks in the middle of nowhere torturing people.
You could do like a mob thing too, where it's like, you know, maybe that's their way of trying to get rid of people is instead of the old timey way of making sure they're in concrete in the foundation of a building, they're just like wrapping people in deer skins, throwing them in front of cars.
Instead of concrete shoes, like let's get a nice rack on them.
Yeah. Rack them. Realistically, how many
dress him like a deer and just throw him in front of a car? That's so funny. It's so funny and stupid for no reason.
It's so elaborate. It's like
so elaborate, but the perfect crime. And the cops just stand there like, I can't figure this out.
I mean, it feels like it's either it's either very silly or very disturbing, where it's like the options are either this person's dressed as a deer and they're released into the woods, but they have like tape over their mouth and there's hunters in the woods. So they'll get like accidentally taken out, or that's like a Saw situation, you know, like a Saw movie, or it's goofy mafia in like a police academy movie or like something that's like stupid.
Oh, yeah. This could be good. This could be something real, Kevin. Tanya. This is
boy.
So I watched The Resident or The Residence recently. It's like a murder mystery in the White House.
Oh,
but specifically in the residence, I guess, is the term for the top floors of the White House where people actually live.
Yeah.
And so murder in the residence. This detective comes in. Her name is Cornelia Cupp. She is the most famous detective in the world. And
let me pause right there. Who do you think right now the most famous detective in our world is?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I was going with this. Every detective movie is like, it's Daniel Craig showing up and it's like, oh, Mont Blanc is the most famous detective in the world. And then it's like, you know, Death on the River Nile or whatever, or the Express one, the Agatha Christie books, right?
Yeah. Fuck.
Orient Express
Poirot
or something. Yes, Hercule Poirot. And like, he's the most famous detective in the world. And it's like, I can't name a single detective ever. I've never once heard a detective's name and been like, wow, that's the greatest. Who is the greatest detective in the world right now? Is there a ranking we can look up? Is there a Reddit thread that's following this? What's the world with detectives? Like these guys, Buddy Pat made a great point, was like, they're superheroes. If you see a detective movie, it's a superhero movie. You have to suspend disbelief. You have to suspend disbelief for murder mystery and just live in a world where there are famous detectives, where detectives matter and people know them. Right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Like imagine a detective being like Caitlin Clark level famous.
That would be so fucking awesome. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be the case that they solved. So like if somebody actually cracked like a massive case, and I think it would be a body of work situation. So if somebody was able to definitively crack like the Kennedy hit, or like, let's say they solved the Kennedy assassination, and they also solved like, I don't know, one of these, I'm not a true crime guy, but they definitively solved Zodiac. Like if they just go through and check these things off.
I'm not a true crime guy. Maybe they could solve, I don't know, the JFK assassination. That's like your version of true crime. Like, I don't listen. I'm not staying up late listening to these true crime podcasts. But if they could ever tell us who killed JFK,
if we do a true crime podcast, it's just trying to solve the Kennedy assassination. Or like a true crime podcast only about the Lincoln assassination. And we do all the trappings of my favorite murder.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite murder is just the. See, we should rebrand this podcast as just every episode we're trying to figure out who killed JFK, and that's just like our running theme.
Incredible. We keep like we finally know what to do for our backgrounds. It could just be those like cork boards with like beautiful minds.
Yeah, exactly. Just the.
Oh my God. I did look up while we were talking. I Googled best living detectives. And it brought up
number one's Deer.
Number one is Deer. The first one was Joseph Kenda, a retired Colorado Springs Police Department detective lieutenant. Kenda is known for his 23-year career solving 356 homicide cases out of 387 investigated, achieving a 92% closure rate. Colorado Springs, I have been personally. It is a place that I would believe having that many murders. It was pretty fucking dire when we were there. He investigated 387 homicide cases over a course of 23 years. That is 16. That's actually less than I thought it would be. 16 homicide cases a year. So he was doing, more than one a month. It's a pretty high rate of homicides. Basically 1.4 a month for 23 years straight. That's pretty wild.
But did he work for the police? Because I think that's the other element of this is like normal people just don't get to investigate crimes like this. How often are they bringing in outsiders? Is it possible for me to like freelance video edit on the side and then the other half of my income comes from freelance detective work, like freelance crime solving? Just like every 6 months, I pick up a detective gig and figure out where the jewel is. Right. Like figure out how the painting was stolen. And then I just go back to, vacationing abroad.
Yeah. That's
living
the thing.
The
I don't think
Canal.
it's as fun, but maybe that's the thing. Is like maybe all these cases that we tend to see are pretty high profile. I guess they do get disseminated later, but I feel like there are also a good degree of things where, the utmost secrecy is required. We can't let information about this get out. So I want to believe that like Dan Brown is out there being Indiana Jones on the weekends. I want to believe that these real life writers of these mystery books are actually the first people getting called in because they are the ones who know a mystery the best.
Like, did you ever see that movie with or they did a documentary about I think it was someone in the Philippines. These guys got stuck like deep cave diving, or like this like class got stuck there. And there was like a flood in the canal oh man, what am I talking about?
Those things always freak me the fuck out, where it's like any kind of a cave thing is like, that's going to be a no for me.
Cave. The Thame Luang Cave Rescue. 12 members of a youth soccer team and their coaches were trapped in a cave system in Thailand. And they were extracted. All 13 individuals were extracted, but there's a documentary about it, I think on Disney Plus, where they brought in like the Thai Navy SEALs tried to do it. And I think one of them died. It's like really tiny, narrow caves.
Holy
and like
shit.
Deep, it's like a mess. It's like spelunking, like where you got to get in there, but it's water. And then it flooded when these guys were in the cave exploring, it flooded. And so now they're trying to get them out before they starve to death. And so they ended up calling up all of the deep sea divers, like the best people who were into deep sea spelunking, basically. And they're all just like weekend warriors with real jobs.
Yeah.
They're like dads who just taped like 3 oxygen tanks together so that they could dive really deep, when they're on the weekend. And they all know each other because they're all just like the only 10 people in the world who actually do this and like doing it. And so they brought all these like dads in. Yeah, they brought the dads in and they got it done. They helped the Navy SEALs figure out how to do it and get these guys out. And that's kind of how I'm figuring, this like detective thing works probably. I'd like to be that guy. I'd love to be the like they come on the pod. Somebody listens to the pod and they're like, these guys have some new insight on the JFK assassination. Let's bring them in on this other case. Let's try them out and see how it is. It's a small community of the detective work and, just a little weekend warrioring.
Man, that is interesting. It's interesting to me too. As much as I have mixed feelings about true crime in general as a genre, just because not everybody, I'm not saying everybody who's into true crime does this, or everybody who's making a true crime podcast or show does this, but it can obviously venture into exploitation. And there can be real world ramifications for putting focus on these cases that concern real people who don't necessarily want to be in the spotlight and definitely don't want to be in the spotlight related to like a grisly case. So that I think can be a little morally questionable for me at times, but I also can't argue with the results of things like the Golden State Killer case, where it's like you watch that documentary about Michelle McNamara and it's unbelievable. It's so cool and so cool to see how that community was able to basically act like a distributed neural net and process all these different pieces related to this case. And I think that is a genuine testament to what humanity can do working together. And that's awesome. So, yeah, man, maybe if we make a JFK podcast and it gets big enough, we could finally put this thing to bed.
There's a doc I watched on, I think, a JetBlue flight. Would recommend, called Citizen Sleuth.
Would recommend the doc or the flight?
Wouldn't recommend the flight. I like JetBlue okay because they have TVs most of the time, and I think one of them might have Citizen Sleuth on it. And it was like this doc following this true crime podcaster who was trying to investigate a crime in her hometown. And I'm going to spoil it for everybody. You don't have to watch it. basically early on, it's like, it looks like it's a car accident. The police rule it a car accident, and she thinks it's foul play, and the family thinks it's foul play, and all this stuff. And she gets to a point where she started the podcast. She's releasing episodes. She's doing all of these things, and she talks to an expert who's like, yeah, this was definitely just a car crash.
Yeah.
And she releases a second season of the podcast. She starts doing merch. She keeps doing dates. She keeps talking about the experience and doing town halls and stuff. People are asking her questions, and she's all like, yeah, there's all these theories. And eventually she has a coming to God moment of is this the right thing to be doing? Am I a piece of shit for this? Which the answer is yes.
Wow.
But it is crazy how, she starts out with good intentions of no ads, no nothing. We're going to keep it pure just for the listeners, just to honor the case. We're not going to run any ads or anything like that. And the next second, she's running ads like a real sellout. Anyway, this episode's brought to you by Dr. Pepper, 27 flavors in one can. Who knew? I sure didn't. Call the doctor. His name's Pepper. Enjoy one today.
With new flavors like Dr. Pepper Vanilla and Dr. Pepper Cherry, there's even more flavor in the same Dr. Pepper package.
Kevin, for Dr. Pepper's medical advice corner, we got a letter in today in the mail. I'm having trouble breathing. I'm sweating a lot. My pulse is slowing down. What should I do? P.S. Love the new Dr. Pepper segment. Thank you guys. This is a pretty old email. We've had this one for months. Honestly, I haven't been checking the email
that much. Oh my God. Well, first and foremost, we want to thank you very much for writing in. And in terms of your medical question, our best advice for you is just to drink some Dr. Pepper. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I'd say walk it off Keep working out until you're not thirsty anymore.
Yeah.
AKA Coach Boone's philosophy.
Really burn it down. If you don't pass out, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, exactly. And I also noticed, unrelated, I noticed our listenership dropped by one person in the past 3 months. It's crazy.
Weird.
Went from 15 to 14 overnight.
Was probably just mad we didn't answer the email yet.
That's probably it. What a jerk. What an asshole.
What an asshole. Oh, baby.
Here's one thing. I do like the true crime stuff sometimes, but they really are stretching it out. Right? There's been a couple.
In general, like in terms of the cases they're covering now?
Just like when I watch, it's always 3 episodes on Netflix.
Oh,
it's 3 episodes. And it's like, this is really a 15-minute YouTube video. Mm-hmm. But you just wanted to stretch it out. And I think it's just because these are background shows. Like so many people just have it on in the background and it's comforting to talk about true crime for whatever reason. And it just happens. But they're just stretching these out. Right. Like I kind of want to just know what happened and the details of the crime. That's 5 minutes tops. But they are going into all these details. Honestly, if they open one more documentary where it's like, wow, she was such a great kid growing up or whatever. His smile lit up a room. Wow. When he was 5, he was always running around giving people trouble, having a real goofy kid. It's like, who gives a shit? He was 45 when he died. I don't care what he was like. I don't care what he was like as a teen. Who cares? Who cares what this person's like? How good the person is that died has like no relevance to me when it comes to true crime. They could be a terrible person. They could be a great person. It doesn't change anything for me. I just want to know about the crime. I want to know how it happened. I want to know where the police messed up. I want to know the conspiracy.
Sure.
Right? I'm not here to make a morality judgment. I want to be entertained.
Here's how we do that, because I think that's the trauma porn that a lot of people get into, is they want to feel bothered, they want to feel moved by the tragedy of this person. So I'm proposing that we re-rack our true crime podcast a little bit. We call it Bad People Who Died. These are people we quickly established that they sucked so that no one cares about them, and we don't need to focus on the person. We just focus on what happened.
Yeah, I think so. I think 100%, where it's just like, I don't want to go into our bit from the other night, but where you're just like attacking and specifically targeting just like bad people.
Yeah.
Like the opening montage.
I know what bit you mean now. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for the first 15 minutes of the crime doc, we're like showing videos of their childhood and so and talking to their family. Just talked to one friend who's like, yeah, he said some pretty racist shit.
Yeah.
And then you just go
teaser.
right, and then you cut right to he died.
Exactly.
He died on the road, naked, squealing like a pig. Everyone's like, hell yeah, man, hell yeah, let's get into it. Let's solve this crime.
He died on the road wrapped in a deer skin.
Wrapped in a deer skin. Was in a lot of debt.
A show that opens up with like a slow pan up like somebody who knew the victim, and all the normal like dramatic music in the background, and a shot that's like a little too close to them, and you see them being like a little uncomfortable, and they kind of scratch something on their cheek, and then it cuts out and shows like Brandon, roommate of the victim, and he says like, yeah, honestly, all of us just kind of thought we were better off without him, and then intro hits. Cut to the title card. We're cooking. That is all the background we get.
One where it's like, yeah, he kept leaving the gas on.
Yeah, cut. There we go.
Cut to something else.
Theme song kicks in.
He took the nastiest shits.
Just literally just one line about the person, and that's
dishes, it. The sink was always full. Just smash cut to him.
He talked loud on the train.
Oh, he would listen to music without headphones on the subway, the public subway, every day. And you're like, good, I'm glad he's dead. Let's solve this crime.
I love that all we're doing right now is rehashing actual gripes that our friend Colby has said to us about people in our lives.
Oh, these are real, baby.
These are all real.
Man, I hate that. Oh, I hate the music thing.
Oh man.
I did see one time there was it was like a group. I think it was like a group with out with a teacher, like on a school trip or something like that. And these kids got on, and one of the girls was like watching TikToks without headphones. And the teacher was like, turn that off. Don't be that person. And I was like, hell yeah, this is the education system is still going well and strong in New York City. We need more teachers like that.
We do. We need like a whole stand and deliver that's just a teacher who is on the train telling people to turn their TikToks down. That's like a hill that Lauren has really been dying on lately, is like she will be sitting next to each other on the train, and then somebody will get on. And we had a situation the other day where there were not one, not two, but 3 people full volume TikToking near each other, and none of them were backing down. What do you do with that?
See, I have a theory that all this stuff is manspreading.
It for sure is.
It's all different versions of manspreading. You know, your life's chaos. You have no control. You got yelled at work. So now you need an opportunity to like exert your control your environment, influence, push other people around, you know, so you get into that space, you crank the volume up. You're like, I'm getting lost in these TikToks for a little bit. I worked a hard day. I'm going to go home and it's going to suck there too. I'm just going to blast my TikToks and just watch these TikTok dances on full volume. Watch these New York food reviews on full volume on the subway until I get where I need to go. And the idea of multiple people dueling over that, like multiple people manspreading, I'm just picturing like 2 fully grown men like trying to outspread each other, on a seat, just like who could get their knees the widest, get that stuff out the most.
Fully laying down on top of each other, just spreading out and rolling around to out dominate the other one. I've never seen 2 people get aggressive on the train at the same time, which is interesting to me. I've seen people who were together to start with argue on the train, but I've never seen somebody who's like, doing like, so like speaker guy is a perfect example, where like sometimes you'll get somebody with comically huge speakers that are clearly designed so that they can blast music on the train. Like guitar amps that they have an iPhone plugged into. Sometimes we'll get those guys on a train. I've never seen another speaker guy get on the same car as an existing speaker guy. I don't know how that doesn't happen more. It feels like cars on a 3-lane highway merging into the center lane at the same time. It's insane that doesn't happen all the time. But
they have a sign-up sheet.
Oh, that's it.
They coordinate these things. There's a system where they all spread out because they know they can't dueling giant speakers. Those people should be bullied. You know, next time I see one waiting for a train, I want to just like pick the speaker up and just toss it on the tracks and just be like, hey, man, like this sucks. Just know I saved you. I helped you out in a big way.
I remember you were having like a problem with like somebody on your block just sitting out and blaring music like that last summer. Yeah. So I remember looking up, they have this device called a Flipper Zero that allows you to hack into like different frequencies. And I looked it up and it seems like it wouldn't let you hack into the Bluetooth unless you were able to actually like know the unique code for that one device. But I was so excited because I thought for a minute that I might have found a way that you could remotely shut off that speaker when you want to go to bed. And
I was looking at that. Apparently Bluetooth dampeners are illegal too.
Yeah, but
that wouldn't stop me, but
it's time for a new kind of vigilante, Tim. This is your death wish. Just a dude with a Bluetooth dampener. Yeah, just going around.
The wet blanket, reporting for duty.
Wet blanket.
And his socks are wet. He's just slopping his way up there, slopping, and just all the everyone's taking up their AirPods. Like, what is happening? What's going on? I can't hear a thing.
Oh, this guy is, and then he gets called in for a bigger case because they need to dampen the biggest Bluetooth of all.
And China. That's a herald.
That's a herald. Listeners, we'll be back here again next week with something else fun. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you then. Stay nerdy, everybody.
Stay nerdy. Bye.
I like these.
I like these too.